Well, good morning for another 3 minutes. I'm Lynn Snodgrass, the CEO of the Best Doggone Chamber in the Pacific Northwest, of the best darn city in the Pacific Northwest as well. I'm really glad that you're here. This is a new venue for us. This is the second time we have it, so we're still working on where things are and placement and all that. So next month when you come, there may be the tables may be all different, so come and see what new things we've come up with. So we're glad you're here, though. This is the Business and Leaders Luncheon, and we have sponsors of the Business and Leaders Luncheon, or it would not be possible to do this. Our sponsors are Arrow Sanitary Service, Umpqua Bank, Columbia/Umpqua Bank, and we have Mark with us today. This is his first time he's been here, so Mark, thank you very much for your sponsorship and for being here. The Boeing Company and Portland General Electric. And I'd like to thank the stakeholder sponsors, Gresham Barlow School District and MetroEast Community Media. Thank you, Keith, for everything that you do. He's provided this podium and my little step stool and all that for just a lunch. So we're really grateful for what you do. And one of the things that MetroEast does is they rebroadcast what they are recording today. So on your way out, these are on the reception desk, the registration desk. So grab one of these and you can see what was said again today, or you could let your staff or family know the great things that you heard through the rebroadcasting. I wanted to acknowledge some of our board members that are here today. Alex Marcus, thank you, Alex, for being here today. She's one of our newer board members. Dr. Lisa Skari, who you will hear from in just a couple of minutes. She's here. You want to wave so everybody sees where you are. Our past president, Leslie Parker. Leslie Parker came up with the idea, Adopt a Cop. So we're very grateful for your service and for that brainstorm of an idea. And our current President, Brian York. Brian, who also won the Rising Star Award at our Business Excellence Awards. We have an elected official with us today, and she's between going door to door to get the public safety levy passed. Councilor Janine Gladfelter. Thank you, Janine, for being here today. And I would get in big trouble with my team if I didn't remind you. You'll see the golf balls on the centerpieces. It's not because we're going to talk golf today with Mount Hood Community College, but it's because we've got something very fun, very challenging, not challenging at all. If you don't know how to play golf, you are a prime person for this golf tournament. It's a great thing. Anyway, be sure and take a look at the event opportunity, volunteer, golf, sponsor, at whatever level you want. It's on your table. You may not. Can they take the golf balls with them? No, do not take the golf balls with you. Okay, right. We're on a budget. We need to keep those there. The Gresham Chamber mission statement is to be the catalyst to advocate, educate, and collaborate on behalf of its membership for the region, and we want vitality and prosperity. We take that seriously. Advocate, educate, and collaborate. One of the ways that the Chamber accomplishes all three goals, to advocate, educate, and collaborate, is by utilizing the government affairs opportunities. And this is one of those opportunities. The government affairs arranges this. They sponsor it, if you will. And so you're going to get an education you do every month. You have an opportunity to advocate on your behalf, like Dr. Skari is going to do today, and you get to collaborate with the folks at your table, with new friends, perhaps, new businesses. The Government Affairs Council stays abreast of what is happening on the state, regional, and local level, so that might be of great interest or importance to the business community. Two very important issues that have gone through the Government Affairs recommendation process and then on to the board are Measures 26-238 and Measure 26-239. The Chamber opposes Measure 26-238, which is the capital gains eviction tax. It is very poorly written. It's too broad. This is a commercial. It's too broad. It's for everybody. It's not just for evictions. And there are already funded programs in Multnomah County and in Portland that take care of that issue. So this is a tax that's not necessary at this point in time. So the Chamber supports the public safety levy. The public safety levy has prioritized safety. They put in percentages. They're going to put the funds in a separate pot, so it's not going to get mixed up with a general fund, and they're going to be held accountable. There's an accountability possible. Yes, your taxes are going to go up, but so are our insurance rates for all the crime that is going on here. So we need to do something. So today is election day. If you hadn't noticed, please be informed and vote for whatever issues and people are on your ballot wherever you are. And if you have a question about anything, reach out to somebody to get their opinion or some information so that you then can make your own mind up. If you're in Multnomah County, vote no on 26-238. If you're in the city limits of Gresham, vote yes on the public safety levy. Please do that. And look for a drop box or get it postmarked. That law has changed, so it's a postmark for today. Don't wait till midnight, postmark. I don't know how many postal service people are going to be. Yeah, you can drive by the library. There are drop boxes a lot of places. Now, on to the reason you're here today. Mount Hood Community College is 55 years old. It was built on 212 acres of what used to be strawberry fields. Betty Shadeen, Ed and Betty Stewart, Lee Irwin, they may be familiar names to you because they're very familiar names in Gresham. They were there at the beginning, along with Governor Barbara Roberts and her husband Frank. East County College, that was the vision and what it was called at that time as they were putting it all together. They were putting all the pieces together all the pieces that it takes to make a community college. A big hurdle and ultimately a huge motivator was Portland. Portland didn't see the need, didn't think there was even a need for a college out here. They wanted it all in town, not out here, and they fought it. They fought it with their words and with obstruction measures. But rather than dampening the spirit and drive of the Gresham leaders, it fueled their fire and they fought harder. Does that surprise you about Gresham? No, not at all. We know Mount Hood Community College as an educational center, and it even has popular alumni like Paul Winter, the creator of the Garden Burger. It is also the home of the nationally famous Mount Hood Jazz Festival, and it's the home of the internationally famous Highland Games. Both brought tourists from all over the globe to Gresham and to Mount Hood Community College. So what is happening on the campus today, 55 years later, and what is the future? President Dr. Skari and Board of Trustees Chair Andrew Speer will talk about it and walk us through what the future is of Mount Hood Community College. Who's going to be first?
I think we're both going.
Okay, welcome. If you're going to be first, you can just push this back.
You need that, Andrew?
You shouldn't stand on it. That's there we go.
We're good.
Okay.
I think I'll be okay. Now, as long as I don't trip over in the back. Well, good afternoon, everyone. It's wonderful to see you here today, and even more wonderful to have this opportunity to speak before you. This is, I think, the first time I've had the pleasure of speaking before the Chamber, and so I appreciate Lynn giving us this opportunity. My name is Lisa Skari, and I've been the president of Mount Hood almost 5 years now, and it's crazy to think how quickly the time has gone. But it's been a good time, and I'm looking forward to the future and where the college is headed. I'm joined by my board chair, Andrew Speer, and I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. Andrew Speer, and I'm the current chair this year of the college. And I have a long history with the college, have an alumni, and my mom was an alum, and have other family members. And so the college for me is near and dear to my family and my kind of progress as an adult coming through life. And so this being on the board has been a real privilege and honor to really be able to give back and think about the strategy and the long-term validity of the college and how we're serving the community. So that's what we're here to share with you today.
And I did want to do a quick shout out. We've got the board vice chair, Diane McKeel, with us today. Yes. And then also two of the Mount Hood Community College colleagues. We have Don Anderson, who's one of our English faculty members, and Jeff Laff, who is our Director of High School Services. So thank you both for joining us today. So I always like asking this question to see if I can get everyone in the room. How many of you have ever taken a class at Mount Hood Community College? Put your hand up and leave it up. Okay. How many of you have family members who have? Any more? How many of you have ever worked at the college? Or served? Yeah, okay. And for those who haven't raised your hand, how many of you have ever swam at the pool or gone to a meet at the pool? Okay. Is there anyone that I didn't get a hand raised for or something? Okay, Erica, but you've partnered with the college and you've done some great work. So anyone else I missed? Yes.
Nothing.
Okay.
I've attended Job Corps graduations.
Okay, there we go. And
I've just moved to Poland a month and a half ago.
okay, well, we're going to get you connected somehow. So the college has had a tremendous impact on this community, the 55 years plus it's been here. I did want to share a little bit with what has happened. We are the third largest community college in the state, and I will say that we bounce back and forth. Sometimes we're number 2 with Chemeketa Community College, which is down in Salem. We, during our time, have served over 1 million students in East County. So all of you are part of that raised your hands that took classes are part of that, and there's many, many more that we will continue to serve. Along with Amazon, Boeing, and FedEx, we are one of East County's largest employers. We have just over 1,000 employees, and last year we served about 18,500 students. Now, we like to think of Mount Hood Community College as being equity-minded, student-centered, and career-focused. The college has had a focus on serving our community, and we have this beautifully rich, diverse community. We're roughly between 33 and 40% students of color in any given year. And we also, as you know, are home to a large population of immigrant and refugee families who use the college for not only adult basic education, English as a second language, but also career training. Mount Hood Community College is also student-centered, and we like to think of ourselves as the region's career college. Over 30% of our students are enrolled in career and technical ed courses, or CTE courses. Now, that may not sound like a lot, but when you look at our sister institutions of Portland Community College and Clackamas, we're more than double what they offer in career and technical ed. So we're really proud of this. Part of this is attributed to our partnerships with the trades. We work with 23 different training organizations and serve about 6,500 apprentices each year. Now, part of the success, we're also career focused. While we innovate in areas around apprenticeship, working at pre-apprenticeship, we also are one of the first community colleges in the state to be approved to offer an applied baccalaureate degree in cybersecurity. So we will have our first graduating class in 2026. We're very proud of this. This is new territory for the community colleges in Oregon, and are looking to see what other programs may align so that we can actually be offering 4-year degrees here in East County, so students don't have to travel down to Eugene or travel down to Corvallis or even into Portland, and we can serve them right here in this community. Now, you may have heard recently there was legislation called Future Ready Oregon, which provided money to advance workforce development within information technology, healthcare, and manufacturing. Mount Hood was a recipient of one of the first grants, and it was around trying to bolster our semiconductor industry, and specifically in this community, working with Microchip and onsemi to build their workforce. With that grant, we were able to buy portable trainers where we're actually doing on-site training for them so that they can upskill their workers. And we were hoping between the two companies to have 20 students in our first class. Microchip had over 90 people sign up the first 3 days, and I think we had about 50 at On Semi, and we only had 48 slots, so we had to pare that back. But it just speaks to what's possible when we work together, and now we're trying to figure out how we can continue to expand that and offer those courses. Now, things like this don't just happen. They take a lot of work on the campus, they take a lot of folks and a lot of energy, but really it comes down to vision and it comes down to leadership. And this is what the board worked on for 18 months, the last 2 years, in setting that for us. And so I'd like to turn it over to Andrew to talk about what they accomplished.
Great. Thank you, Lisa. So I'll be going over the basis of our strategic planning process that we've been working on. And now we're starting to move into the phase where Lisa and her president's cabinet are starting to roll out the actual implementation of the plan. So as Lisa mentioned, we've been on a long course of working on this plan, and this was developed over the 2021-22 academic school year, and involved a lot of community engagement. And I think some of the people in this room might have been involved in that solicitation for feedback as well. We came up with 3 goals out of the process. 1, to create a transparent process that engages all Mount Hood Community College constituencies. 2, to have a final product that was an expression of our values and who we are as a community college. 3, develop an actionable plan with tangible, specific goals to drive all other planning, including annual budgets. The process collected honest and constructive feedback about issues and priorities related to Mount Hood. Wanting to make sure that we heard voices from a broad range of spectrum of our community, the survey was offered in 7 languages and held focus groups in Spanish and had translators available for all sessions. Community input came across focus groups from our school districts, local elected officials, our cities, Gresham Chamber of Commerce, Sandy Chamber of Commerce, and the Gateway Business Association, PGE, Pacific Northwest Carpenters Union, Unite Oregon, Rosewood Initiative, just to name a few. In addition, we broadly shared the results of these surveys with those networks. Our strategic plan pays special attention to the needs of the changing student body and district demographics, addressing industry trends and supporting employees to continue and increase the rate of student success and close opportunity gaps for all. Next, I'll be covering a little bit about what we heard in those engagements with community. In general, staff and students feel welcome and safe at the college. They feel that the college is committed to diversity, equity, and inclusion. Students ranked academic programs, financial aid, location as the college's top 3 strengths, while the availability of classes and technology were seen as 2 of the top weaknesses. What we heard from community members was that the college's relationship with K-12 leaders, business leaders, and political leaders was somewhat weak. From all the data we collected, 8 key opportunities were identified. 1, to build an environment that does not offer many opportunities for social gatherings and interactions. The campus layout is confusing, and wayfinding can be difficult for those who have not been to the college. Number 2, decision-making is not always transparent. Our stakeholders want to understand how decisions are made to further our goals. 3, difficult to track student success. The college could improve data collection and tracking of student success to better understand what works, in particular those students with basic need insecurities. Number 4, many students are unaware of the services available to help them succeed. The college needs to better align and integrate student services and consistently distribute information about those services to all students and employees. Number 5, pathway from K-12 to MHCC and beyond are not clearly spelled out. So as we know, the district residents lag Multnomah County and the Portland metro area by 14% in going to college. The sooner students have a positive experience on or around a college campus will reinforce a sense of belonging. And the engagement and support of parents is important, especially for our first generation students. Number 6, business partnerships vary in strength. We heard how MHCC has a robust relationship with some industry leaders and businesses, in particular those industries directly involved with career technical education programs. Yet relationships with other businesses could be better leveraged to identify and respond to industry needs. The needs of a number 7, the needs of a highly diverse student body are not fully addressed. Respondents cited community relationships as key opportunity areas that the college can leverage. We heard that while the college has strong existing relationships and partnerships with local community-based organizations, there was a lack of coordination between college departments and services when connecting with those organizations. It was emphasized how community-based organizations are a direct, trusted link to underrepresented communities, and that this relationship should be better utilized and formalized. And lastly, number 8, community is not aware of the wide range of MHCC programs and services. It was a bit disheartening to hear that the college presence is not felt within the community, but not surprising when considering the results of the 2016 college bond measure, where 57% of community members voted no. This feedback gave us a lot to work with, right? It gave us clarity in what we need to pursue and improve. The community is interested in being involved in campus events and informational and formal decision making, and we want to engage that with you all as we go through time. Next, I'll share a little bit about the plan, where we're headed. All the data collected during the process was used and to develop our plan, which was centered on equity. As you will see, this plan lives under the umbrella of our equity statement and is guided by our vision, mission, and values. And while you read that, I'll just start to kind of go through where we're headed and where our priorities lie. We broke it into, over the next 5 years, we'll focus on improved teaching and learning practices and processes to support learning and success for all students. Number 2, provide a full range of educational support programs and services needed to allow students to meet their educational, career, and professional goals. 3, align the college's organizational structure, systems, and processes to reflect the diversity of the communities we serve. Number 4, provide facilities and technology platforms to serve all the needs of students. And number 5, increase our visibility, strengthen our core connection between the college and our local, regional, and community partners. So next, we wanted to think about how do we hold ourselves as an institution and as a board accountable for this work and kind of tracking it through time and then being able to measure our success. And so to do this, the board set out indicators so we can track the impact on community, hold ourselves accountable, and specifically by 2027, we expect to see an improvement in student success for all students, regardless of race, age, gender, or income. And this can come in the form of getting a degree or certificate is the ultimate goal. Our completion rates will increase to 40%. Because progression is linked to completion, our retention rates will increase to 70%. Because accreditation is linked to retention, 40% of students will complete at least 23 credits in their first year. Number 2, 80% of students meeting core learning outcomes for all students regardless of race, age, gender, or income. Number 3, an improvement in our community connections. 70% of students say MHCC is a good steward of taxpayer dollars. 30% of our high school students will attend MHCC after graduation because too many of our high school area students are not going on to post-secondary education and are coming to us several years after graduation. Number 4, improve our campus diversity, equity, and inclusion. Employee diversity will reflect our district's diversity within 5 percentage points because students thrive in environments where they see themselves and role models that look like them. Student diversity will exceed our district diversity by 5 percentage points because if we are successful in achieving our commitment to access, equity, our diverse communities, we will find the college as a place that they can succeed. And next, I'll turn over to Lisa.
So there's a lot here, and I've got both our strategic plan and our environmental scan. I've got a couple actual printed copies if anyone would be interested. But through this work, there was a ton of data we were collecting related to our community and the demographics and who we serve that can be informative. And then also the strategic plan if you have any interest. But our goal is to now use this as a way of communicating with you on a regular basis around what we're doing and how we're accomplishing those goals, right? How are we how are we reaching those benchmarks that we set for ourselves and what's happening? Because if we can meet those benchmarks, we will continue to transform this community and especially the outcomes for the residents that live here. And so that is our goal. And with that, pause and open it up for questions.
So time for questions? Yes. And I think we're getting mic'd up here. Okay, free golf for the first question. I'm just teasing.
No, actually, I just went online and I checked, and it seems that the average cost is is 5,000 something. Is that for the whole year?
Yeah, that would be tuition and fees cost for an entire year if you're taking a full load.
It's impressive. It's very low.
That's super.
Super low. Yeah, so I looked at it, I have a couple kids and they're having issues going to college in Washington, so I'm going to bring them here.
Yay!
Maybe you will get free golf. So there we go. Another question? John, you're always good for one. Okay, there we go. John?
So some of the objectives were good, and you kind of get, that kind of launches into strategies and different goals, right? But it is kind of back, and I heard you say this indirectly, but you can't manage what you don't measure, right? So it's great to have a plan and a strategy to get there, but then you have to look at, okay, well, how did we do, right? So you measure yourself. So some of those I noticed that have been remedied for me. For example, there were issues that people had, right, with like the community not knowing kind of K through 12, right, of looking at the next connection to Mount Hood Community College. I mean, we just had the MIWA, right, where they talked about the different students that are actually getting 1 or 2 associate degrees, like as they're graduating high school. Like, that's spectacular. Like, we should be broadcasting that from the hilltop because I want my kids to do that. And also, you look at some of the things about people not knowing what courses are there or understanding the college, right? That has probably a lot to do with maybe why some of the bond measures didn't pass. So I guess all-encompassing question is kind of what are you doing to outreach to pull people back in or to educate people on who Mount Hood Community College is and what you can offer to them and vice versa?
Yeah, I'll just speak to the kind of the board's level of policy and in community engagement. So I'm coming up, just about to complete my 4th year on the board. And in my time, we've really had a lot of intentionality and focus in on community engagement. So thinking about our relationships with business, elected cities and county, and starting to engage those groups and constituencies a little differently. And so we've prioritized each year since coming onto the board these types of presentations and engagements with city councils and other groups. And so that's what we've been doing kind of at a tactical level from our board work. And then I think, when you talk about accountability and the tie-in back to these outcomes, for the board, it is that engagement and annual goal setting with Lisa as the president. Lisa reports to the board, and so that dynamic of goal setting with her annually has been important around helping to achieve that outreach. So part of our ask of her annually is to have certain amount of face time and exposure externally away from the college. So we've worked on that very intentionally also. And then, all the aspects of, you kind of touched into some what and the how, and I'll let her speak to that. But I think as the board, we're really interested on community engagement directly, having community connect again with the college, because like we saw with the hand raise, you can't really throw a stone very far without touching someone who's either directly gone or has someone in their family that's gone. So that intentionality has been really important for me as I think about the pathway to both laying out a strategic plan that's objective and based and then has the outcomes, and then also longer term thinking about what does the college need to adapt to into the future when we think about facilities and perhaps a bond and that kind of roadway.
On the operational side, one of the things that for me I think is very powerful is every department does an annual plan that is where their budget comes from, and they have to have a budget request. All of their tactics have to align with one of the goals in the strategic plan. And we have goal number 5, which is all about community connections. And I don't have the number off the top of my head, but the number of tactics where departments were talking about what they were doing. And so I think that's where the power comes in the campus community as a whole, reaching out to their particular constituent groups that they're closest to, making those connections, but then we have to tie it back, get that information, and then share it through like our distribution channels, like our social media, our annual reports. And so it's kind of a two-side, but that's how we're doing it. And we will have, or actually we do have, for this, we've got a dashboard where you can see each of the objectives and if they're in the development, implementation, or assessment phase, if they're on target, and if the assessments are reaching their outcomes. And so we have some of those so the community can see where we are in each initiative.
Councillor Gladfelter has a question over here. Oh, no, I take that back. I have no idea who you are. You do need a microphone because we're recording it.
Oh, perfect. Good afternoon. Maybe just a couple follow-up questions. I heard the K through 12 partnership. Tell me a little bit about how many of your current enrolled students fall within that high school category, and then I'd also be curious how the enrollment trends have been affected over the course of the last 3 years.
Well, I'll just say, well, maybe I'll pick up on that last part. So enrollment trends are down right across all sectors, K through 12, higher ed. So we are, as part of that intentionality of this strategic plan, is how do we retain the students we have? So a lot of that focus that Lisa and her staff have been working on is, we roll into fall term with good enrollment numbers, and then we get into winter term and there's a big drop off. And so how do we remove the drop offs between fall and winter and then into winter and spring? So that's been a priority. We're facing the same realities as any other community college, but I think Lisa mentioned at the top of the presentation the CTE programs that we have. That has what helped our numbers this year remain robust, and we've actually had small growth. So we've been doing well within enrollment, but I mean, the realities that you probably know of given this question, that enrollment is just a struggle generally, but I'll let Lisa.
Yeah. So, and one of our goals, I think our capture rate is about 30%, and I believe we're like around 23. And so trying to figure out different ways of working with our K-12 partners and figuring out how we smooth that transition. One of the nice things about this plan is all of these metrics we have dashboards for. And the one around this capture rate is we actually have it broken down by high school, and you can see disaggregated by race what those enrollment numbers are coming to Mount Hood. And so working with and sharing that with the superintendents, right? And so we can talk and figure out, okay, how do we work together, right, to move those numbers? COVID, right, I think we ended up losing about 30% of our students. And it was, that was over the course of those 2 years. I'm happy to say that this year, every term we've been up, and it looks like we were planning to be down 5% just because we didn't know it was going to happen. We're going to probably end up the year between 4 and 5%. So we're pleased. Summer enrollments are looking good. Applications are looking good. So we feel like we've turned that corner.
Thank you. Question over here?
Yeah, actually, I just want to make a comment to follow up on issues of enrollment and community outreach. Speaking as a faculty member, the college has been incredibly proactive with me with developing PR, wonderfully attractive posters for my specific courses, putting them on social media. And it's true, fall quarter enrollments are high, and then they start to descend, and by spring, you never know. And I am lowest of seniority in my department, so I get the crumbs from the higher ups, okay? And I was teaching one elective, face-to-face elective, and I thought for sure it would never run because there's just not enough people. Enrollments are so down in spring, and it is full. I couldn't believe it, and a lot of this is to the college's support of helping faculty come up with posters. The district communications department have all collaborated with me to make, again, very attractive posters, put them out in the community, put them out on social media, and it has made a huge difference in my enrollments. So it's been really great. Thank you.
Did you have another question? I'm going to go over to President Parker in just a minute.
I was going to say, personally, I went to a community college in Lane Community College a long time ago. I'm an immigrant, and English is my second language, and I learned it through Lane Community College. So I was going to say, I think it's amazing the work that you do. If you go to online, you see all the catalogs. You have Spanish, Vietnamese, Russian. You have different programs, majors, course descriptions, and of course, you have basic skills for English as second language. Anyway, I believe, and I've been doing this for a long time, I believe that the gap could be into, let's use, if possible, their own, how people likes to be, advertised. So I don't know how people likes to be reached, because I can tell you that a while ago, in order for me to reach out people in the community of Woodburn, I had to create a radio show specifically for the Latinx community and farm workers and their kids. So I think depending on who is doing your marketing, who is doing your outreach, I think they just have to kind of collaborate with other institutions, other chambers, other people who are from the minorities, because all the programs you have, they have to know. I mean, they're amazing. Thank you.
Okay, I'm on my way. Lynn's a pit stop. Here we go.
While she's running over, I do want to add one thing. Our adult basic education, English as a second language program, is at pre-pandemic levels or exceeding that. We had 440 new students this spring term, and we could have probably enrolled another 100 and 150 more. We didn't have the faculty to teach it. And so it's an amazing growth area, and so we're trying to figure out how we work with the community to support them.
Aaron.
I didn't do it, did I?
Sorry, I had one job.
No, it's straight.
Okay.
I'm curious about readiness to learn for your incoming students. Unfortunately, in Oregon, it doesn't, just because you have a GED or a high school diploma, it doesn't mean you're ready for traditional college level work. So how have you adapted over the years? Just interested in your thoughts.
I mean, I'll just share. I started going to the community college when I was 16, and so what I've always appreciated, right? And you take an entrance placement test, and then that places you into whatever category of writing course you need to go to, math, and so on. And so that is a foundational thing that at least Mount Hood does. But I think what I've always appreciated about the model of community college is that it really works hard to meet students where they're at. And so, right, there's the gradient of class courses that go, right, pre-college level. And so, I think just as an entrance into higher education, that's where the bread and butter is to me when I think about this model and how we engage with community. And a lot of it is outreach, but a lot of it is, individual families, right, connecting the dots too, because of the impact that the college has had on the community. So, you know, part of it, people want to put it on the colleges. Oh, well, you're not doing enough marketing. And there's a large part of me that says, you all know exactly what we do. Talk to your own families and engage with your own communities to be that agent of change with us too.
Do you know what percentage of students maybe are not doing credit-bearing courses? Like the
Yeah, not off the top of my head, and I don't want to put a number out there and be wrong. I will say on the interesting thing, so our faculty are amazing, right, with the community we serve and figuring out how to support them. We've got a very robust tutoring center and writing center, right, so students who are having maybe some challenges can get a little additional support. I think one of the things on the college that we need to think through is we know that if a student places below college level writing and math, they're more likely to drop out. And so how do we figure out ways to both help them get academically prepared, but try to do it in a way that gets them to that college level course sooner, because they're more likely to be retained. I don't have the answer to that. It's going to take a lot of great minds, but it's one of those things we're seeing that we're losing them.
Okay, Leslie's question.
Thanks so much for your presentation. I had a question. Under the weaknesses, you had mentioned technology, which is a really broad perspective. So I was really curious of, you know, I'm assuming it's not just a bigger Wi-Fi signal or something, that there's more to it.
Well, there's a little bit of the Wi-Fi because that campus was built in the late 60s, and there's a lot of brick. But no, this really gets to the technology that students use. So everything from the website, I'll let you talk about the website, but to our student information system, which is old and kind of antiquated. And so sometimes registering is an interesting one that's difficult and it's clunky. And part of it is because of the system we have. And so that came up, right, for students as being a barrier. And so we're trying to figure out with that as part of our strategic plan is how do we look for a new student information system, one that's current and up to date and easy to use?
So a big area of survey back, it was in the space of our website. And if you've ever been to our website, it has a lot of improvement opportunities, maybe is the best way to say it. And so that's been a priority for us as the board, talking to Lisa and helping to set goals and priorities. And so right now, currently, the website is under development for a full redesign and rollout. And so by the end of the year or into fall, October into this fall, we should see a full redeployment of the website that will be simplified. Right now, there's a lot of different tabs and wormholes you can go down. And so we're working to have that be simplified and a user experience interface that's more productive.
Okay, Mark has a question.
So as I look at the financials, I looked at the year end ending in June, and it looks like you guys had planned a contingency of a little over $7 million. It looks like financially you guys have adapted yourself to the correct numbers, which is great, but you didn't make any progress really in the contingency area. What are you going to be doing this next year to help you with your contingency?
So we hold, I forget, we have what's our policy?
5%.
We have a policy around what percentage of contingency we'll hold. And so 5%. And so that is our guiding light, ensuring that we have that rolling in. And then the other factors with our budget setting process really just run into enrollment. So what enrollment forecasts are we looking at for setting the budget? And we're actually setting the budget in June for next school year. And so we're not looking to increase that past our policy for contingency purposes. Is that getting at what your question was?
Yeah, I see that you've actually increased your cash, which is great. But you didn't attribute it back to the contingency. which may have been at least enlightening, because you increased your cash by $5 million, but where did that $5 million go into? So some of it probably went to program costs. Some of it could have probably been allocated to the contingency fund and at least shown progress in that endeavor.
And I can't speak exactly where those dollars flowed. I will say, given that we've not been able to pass a capital bond since the 70s, I believe, we have a lot of emergency capital projects, and I'm guessing some of that cash gets directed there throughout the year. But yeah.
And if I'm thinking, just to that point, we have a new dental lab and clinic that will be opening, probably a soft opening August time, and instruction will kick in September. And so that was part of that, having that contingency balance that we could move in to do that construction.
So it was a CapEx expense.
Yeah.
Okay, another question? You got one, Marty? I have 7 grandchildren, which makes me an expert on college because they're all going through, and the oldest 4 are now either in college or stepping out of high school and into college. And their number one, it wasn't, I want to go where the best education is. I want to go and have a college experience. I want to be with kids my age, especially after the COVID closures and the COVID isolations. So I love what you've done, but sneezers are the kids at a 10. I mean, they're the ones that are going to get the information out. I call them sneezers. They get out information, good and bad. Is there something in your plan and your goals to increase that participation and that interaction with students so they have that people experience? Now, academics are great, yes, but I'm an expert. I'm a grandma expert now, and that's what my grandkids are telling me.
I'll just say the board has been on campus the last few weeks, just for events, and I think what I'm noticing is just the student outreach and engagement piece has been really key. And then, I don't know that you can fully replicate on a community college campus the experience of a 4U university, but there is a culture coming back of in-person back to the campus that feels good. Students are engaged. We did a student town hall last week with the board, and there was, I was expecting maybe 5 people to show up, and there was 15, 20, 30 students, and so there is starting to become that culture. But in terms of the plan as we presented it, we don't have like a key metric around that intangible aspect. I think is more what you're getting at, but a lot of intentionality on creating campus experience once on campus.
Thank you. Okay, Marty?
This will come as no surprise to some of you, and my question is about data about women who are enrolled in the science and technology fields. What are the numbers? Do you have the data on the numbers? And what is the college doing to encourage more women to enter these fields?
So I don't have the data. I should have remembered and had that, knowing you'd probably ask that question, but I can get it to you. I will say we have some amazing female faculty in our science programs, and I think they serve as a great role model for women being able to see themselves in that profession. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I'll get you the number.
All right, we've got time for one more question. Who's the last winner of the golf tournament? Alex. Do you golf, Alex? Sorry? Do you golf? That would be that long thing with the big thing on the end, and you hit a ball, one of those. No, you don't golf. But you can still ask a question.
I like fast and furious sport. I don't. This is total ignorance on my part. Do you have a program whereby you actually go to the local high schools and present what Mount Hood Community College is all about and what opportunities they can have? Because there seems to be a culture across the country, I have to go to college, I have to go to university. What college within the university, a lot of times they don't know until they get to university. We've all experienced that part. But I found growing up in a society where in high school we were encouraged to think, how can I and will I be able to get into a university, and what is out there available? And I was fortunate enough that representatives from local universities and colleges would come to the high schools and explain exactly what the advantages were and whether or not you were college material. So it's a multi-question.
So yes, we have a whole student outreach department. I'm thinking a SOAR team, which is actually our student. We have students from the high schools that go out and do the recruitment in addition to our staff. So that's regular visibility. We also have in David Douglas, Gresham Barlow, and Centennial school districts. There's a TRIO program called Talent Search, which is focused on working with students of color, low income, to try to get them to think about college, and we start at the middle schools. So there's another group, and I'm looking at Jeff, who's our Director of High School Services. There's probably some other examples of ways we get into the high schools to make that connection. But Jeff, I don't know if you have anything you want to add?
When I heard what your tuition is annually, that's what prompted me to think that way, because it's so affordable.
Yes, and even if people are thinking of a university, they can do the first 2 years with us, save a whole lot of money, and then do their second 2 years at their university of choice.
Go ahead, Jeff, do you have something?
Did I put you?
So good afternoon. Part of our efforts to address the opportunities in the strategic plan is re-engaging our high school relations committee, where we are trying to coordinate all of these activities because they're happening in different small pockets, and there's not necessarily a uniform consistency of us going in on a regular basis. And for better or worse, that's now under my responsibility. So I will be working on our efforts to coordinate how our different areas are going in on a more consistent and regular basis.
I also want to do a shout out to Ms. Moen, who works with the Career Connected. I always get the title wrong, but is based in the chamber, but is working with the high schools and actually is connected to the college on that as well.
It's called Work Ready program, and Vicki did an amazing career fair, and Mountain Community College had 2 of their programs there, and I've got a lot of photos of kids lined up to talk to your staff about those. But it wasn't the whole college, it was just some specific departments. So any last question? John, it has to be a question.
That's a question.
Oh, okay, just a minute. The reason we're using the microphone is so people can hear, but it's also being recorded. So.
I had a question.
Okay, there you go.
Before, I had one already. It's been a long time since I've been in college. Do we still do a type of counseling, right? So if somebody picks engineering or some sort of course line of action or activity, right, they go through like, hey, this course is only offered in the spring, so you're going to want to take it at this time or this year, and kind of like give you sort of a roadmap. I mean, granted, that'll change over time, but ultimately, does that still occur from the beginning phases of, say, high school, and then as they are thinking of somewhere like Mount Hood Community College to attend?
It should. We have, in addition to our faculty in the areas that know, especially in our career and technical ed areas, we've got advisors and a whole advising area that students can either drop in or set appointments to work with them. The state is also working on creating major transfer maps to make it easier, because I think that's been the challenge too, is OSU has different requirements than University of Oregon, and it, for a student, it's hard if you don't know where you're going to go. But so they're working on improving that as well.
So the roadmap is available if you utilize it. Yeah, that's good.
Didn't they do a great job? No, that's great. Yeah. No, I'm going to hide behind the podium here. You are taller than me. Okay, so I am so grateful This was a smaller group, but you had just as many questions as we always have. So congratulations to that. Don't forget that it's been broadcasted, or it's been recorded today, and there's going to be a rebroadcast. You could pick this up over there. Diane McKeel, you could pick up 5 of them and say, look, we did this, and you share with your board members, your fellow trustees. Look what we did. We were out there doing our job. I want to thank our sponsors again, Aero Sanitary, who is it a main sponsor of the golf tournament? Golf cart sponsor. Yes, yes. And Umpqua Bank, Mark, Columbia. Is it officially Umpqua now? Okay, officially Umpqua. Mark, thanks for attending today. Portland General Electric, keep your lights on. The Boeing Company, fly someplace. Gresham Barlow School District, MetroEast Community Media. If there's no other questions, next month, please pay special attention. We may or may not have a business and leaders luncheon because it's so close to the golf tournament. So watch to see whatever program we come up with is going to be phenomenal. So thank you all for attending today. There's cheesecake, a lot of cheesecake left. If you don't like cheesecake with strawberries, put the Alfredo sauce on it. But, that's, do what you need to do to help us so we don't have to pack it up. Thank you for attending. Go forth and make a profit. Bye.